Eastern Creek/Sydney Motorsport Park since inception back.
And welcome back to Sydney Motorsport Park. We are getting ready for the final event on tonight's program, and it is the Shoreflight Superbike Masters event, race 3 of their 3-race program. And Steve Martin, I'm incredibly excited for this one because I love these bikes and they've been putting on a show all weekend. Keogh Watson especially, 2 race wins from 2 starts. He's joined on the front row of the grid by Troy Corser and Murray Clark. Some very experienced campaigners.
Yeah, sure is on that front row. Row 2 is Brian Bolster, Aaron Bennett and Greg Avery on the number 190 machine.
Corey Glock starts row 3 along with Phil Burke and Brad Phelan, and row 4 is Robert Young, Glenn Hindle and Phil Bevan.
Scott Webster from Victoria, Stephen Carroll, Richard Easton, Roger Gunn, Paul Rigney and Damien Coppola are your main protagonists in this one.
Yeah, huge field of riders were here this weekend. I'm not sure that all of them will be coming out to take up their positions on the grid, Steve Martin, because the track is very, very slippery. I'm not sure how many of them have actually got wet tyres to put in their bikes. Some of them actually got a wet bike. We know that Scotty Webster's got a wet bike. Will we see the Moto Martin in action for the first time in quite some time? Have a look at that start-finish straight. It looks almost dry.
Yeah, it certainly does. It will be interesting to see if Scotty Webster does use that. It'd be interesting to see if he does use that bike, won't it? Because really looking forward to it.
Right, we're ready to go racing, Steve. Watson, Corser and Murray Clark all on the front row of the grid. Looks like Bolster and Bennett on the second row of the grid. No Greg Avery. Block, Burke and Phelan on the third row of the grid. Then it looks like Glenn Hindle, well, he had that technical problem for the last race.
Got an issue at the back of the grid there. Someone's wheeling their bike off.
As that maybe Roger Gunn was having an issue with bike number 107, the Sunset Racing machine.
Could be. He sorted it.
So here we go. Final race for the Shoreflight Superbike Masters. Sam Phillips leaves the front of the grid. Superbike Masters are going. Great start from Troy Corser. The Ducati is blasting through the field as they come down towards turn 1 for the first time, but I think you'll find it is bike number 11, the TZ750 of Troy Corser, that will lead them through turn 1 for the first time.
Well, Corser is a bit of a master in these conditions, so it's going to be interesting to see how much he wants to push it. You know, I mean, it's a one of a kind, that bike. He doesn't want anything to go wrong with it, so he's going to be pretty ginger, let's say, compared to, you know, some of the other guys like Keogh Watson, Dobbo out there and Murray Clark. I mean, they're raced against Troy Corser. Wouldn't you want to beat him?
100%. And the other thing is, though, too, there's some riders out there having rides on bikes that they've never actually ridden before this weekend. And Brian Bolster is one of them on board bike number 37. His first sighting of that machine was when they got here on Friday.
I think Ross Dobson perhaps has had an issue already. He's gone back down to 16th. Obviously, a lot of the grid have elected not to come out due to the conditions. Tricky, wet, night time.
Well, it doesn't matter what the conditions have been. Aaron Bennett's been on fire all weekend so far on board bike number 3. Doing a great job is Aaron Bennett. Looks like the old, the old universal fairing that they used to have on all of the old bikes back in the 80s on board that Suzuki GSX.
Yeah, it's one of them, isn't it?
GSX 1290. They don't get much bigger than that, Steve.
No.
So it is Corser that leads on the diminutive 750 from the 1290, and then the what would the FZR 1000 of Keogh Watson be?
That would be 1,000.
It might be 1043 or something. I think is the overbore kit for him, isn't it?
Listen to that TZ.
It sounds crisp, doesn't it?
It certainly does.
Well, the reason they're sitting behind him is not only because he's very hard to try and catch, but also it would smell so awesome being there in that position.
I don't know if they're sitting behind him for that reason, but it would smell awesome.
That's just an added advantage. And I'll tell you, Aaron Bennett is riding unbelievably well this weekend. on board bike number 3. Not only does it look sensational, it's proven to be very rapid as well, and he obviously is quite comfortable in these tricky conditions.
Yeah, he's doing a really good job.
Keogh Watson closes right up onto the back of Troy Corser's TZ. So it's a CM Motorcycles 1-2 at the front at the moment.
And, I mean, if you want to talk respective year models, that TZ750's probably from around the era of 1978, and the bike behind it's like 1989. So that gives you an indication of what a real race bike would have been from then. That TZ750 was made as a customer race bike, and that bike that T.O. Watson on was a road bike. And that FZR 1000, I think they turned that into, like, for the Swan series, I think the Marlboro Yamaha team had a couple of them, and they turned them into superbikes back in the day.
Yep, and also that was like the big brother to the OW01, wasn't it? That was the one of the dominant forces in Australian superbike racing in the early 90s.
Well, the OW01, which came out the same year that model there came out, that's the 1000cc version. That 1000cc version was about 10 grand. The OW01
was about 4 times the price.
It was $30,000 back in 1989, which back then everyone that saw it sitting in the shop, I used to work at a Yamaha dealership, and I had to look at it every day, which was pretty painful because I wanted one.
Lucky you didn't work at a Ducati dealership, because you would have been looking at bike number 63 as well. That is the Ducati 888. As we mentioned earlier on, I remember Ducati 888s being ridden by Scott Doohan and Roy Leslie in the Australian Superbike Championship, and they were very hard to beat in the early 90s.
Yeah, absolutely. Scott Doohan, Roy Leslie were the main protagonists on that model. Jason McEwen from New Zealand was another one that rode that bike. Obviously, there's a few of those floating around. Most of them have probably been turned into race bikes that we see from road bikes, but there are some real proper RSs in Australia, or whatever they used to call them back then.
I think the 888 was that an SP5, I think, wasn't it?
Well,
but like the full race version.
I don't remember, because it's just a little bit before my time. Just a little bit.
So we are looking at Troy Corser and Keogh Watson put on a riding demonstration once again out the front of this race. It's been like this for all of the races so far, but most of them have seen Keogh Watson leading all of the races with Troy Corser in hot pursuit.
It's going to be interesting to see what Keogh Watson does. I mean, is he going to have another go at Corser, do you think?
Well, I'd love just to hear the sound of them as they come down the straight, the high-pitched, crisp crackle of the TZ750, and also the screaming 4-cylinder from Keogh Watson's FZR 1000.
Did you see how much Corser was moving around there?
Yeah.
A lot. Dry line now too, look.
Yep, and I think you can see these on slicks as well, it looks like too, isn't it?
Oh, I'll have to have a closer look.
Well, then again, it's hard to tell in the night because we can't actually see the rear tyre. That's the one that's going to be the dead set giveaway.
No, lap times.
Right, let's have a listen to these bikes as they come down the straight. Corser on the back wheel. Let's have a listen. Listen to that two-stroke all day, Steve Martin.
I'm going to, when I get home on Monday, I'm going and buying a two-stroke whippersnipper.
No, well, Steve, I know that you've already got a TZ750 at home. You don't have to go and buy one.
I don't have a TZ750.
Did you sell it?
Look, I can't remember. I've only got one bike.
Oh, sorry, is that under a sheet in the garage that no one knows about?
My wife thinks I've got one bike, we'll keep it at that.
Well, there's Phil Burke on board the RC30. This is the battle of the early 90s, isn't it? The 888 and the RC30. It's almost World Superbike again. Fred Merkel dicing with the Ducati Hordes.
Yeah, absolutely. And is that... I'm not sure what that is in the background. It's some sort of two-stroke. I think it might be a T500 Suzuki, which is... before the RG 500.
That's a TR738 it is.
Close. I knew it had a T in it.
Yep. That was the forerunner to the RGs, which then went on to dominate, didn't they?
Yeah, and I think it's a 3-cylinder two-stroke.
Speaking of three-cylinder two-strokes, there's one right there.
That's a four-cylinder.
Four-cylinder.
Yeah, they're an inline four.
They've got the 3 pipes.
No, they've got 4 pipes. It's just, you know.
Actually, isn't that the one that's got the expansion chambers that have been handmade by...
No.
By Macca?
No. Oh, maybe. I don't know. But it's got 3 pipes on one side and one on the other side.
Yeah, right. That's what it is then. This is a good battle here between Phil Black. Oh, going around the outside. Damon Davis says thank you very much.
On a TR 738.
Back to the front though, it is Corsa and Watson. Oh, they're both running a little bit. Well, they're both running out onto the wet part of the track there, so maybe they have got wets on.
Well, you know, it's tricky. Maybe it's drier than we think, although you look there and it's still leaving lines, isn't it?
Well, but they're going through the wet part and it's leaving a line that indicates that they're still getting plenty of grip. So,
well, I don't think I think it's like a moisture line. I don't think it's like a spin dry line, you know what I mean? Like, because their lap times, they're still doing like 150s, and earlier on they were doing 136s, so they've got to have wet weather tyres on.
Now, Phil Berg, would we want to be doing anything to that RC30?
You know what, I reckon if we do the interview with these guys, I don't know if we are interviewing these guys afterwards, but if we do, we'll get Kate to have a look at their tyres for us. How's that?
Sounds like a plan as we're on the final lap. Troy Corsa currently holding a 0.1 second lead over Keogh Watson. Will Keogh Watson be able to get the drive out of the final corner to take the race win using the slipstream down the My Bike Motorcycle Insurance start-finish straight?
And there's a...
I think that's Paul Rigney coming up just in front of them.
Yeah, so bad timing there. Is he going to be in the way? Looks like Corsa's going to be able to go through. Keogh's gone all the way round.
Yep, the Z1000 gets a short back and sides for Paul Rigney.
Yeah, that's dry there.
Here comes Corsa down to the line now on the...
Look at that, there's the turbocharger.
That's 4-cylinder power just getting... Look at Corsa shaking his head as Keogh Watson just went blasting past to make it 3 from 3.
He was playing with him all that time. He was literally just sitting there going, I'm riding around with Troy Corsa.
Well, I think Troy Corsa just got Brandon Demery.
He did, didn't he?
Keogh Watson obviously saw what Brendan Demery did in the Supersport 300 class and thought I'm going to do exactly the same. But a great outing for the two C&M Motorcycles machines too. First and second. Corey Glock takes third place on board bike number 778. Their Suzuki GSXR 750. So we've got a period 6 Formula 1 bike in first, a period 5 Formula 1 bike in second, and a period 6 Formula 750 in third, and Murray Clark, the period 6 Formula 1300 in fourth. The top 4 in 4 different classes, the 4 different classes in this race, Steve.
Crazy. Good race.
There comes the Ducati across the line. The FZ 750.
The winner of many a race back in the day, many production bike races.
Well, and also the bike that went head-to-head with Robbie Phillips when he was riding the GPX 750R back in the late 80s.
Yep. Michael Dowson, Kevin McGee, probably the most famous riders of that era that rode that bike.
There's Paul Partland on board his Harris XR69. Another bike that was well before its time. Beautiful looking machine. That's a great paint job on that one too, isn't it? The traditional Suzuki paint job.
Yep.
Made famous, of course, by the likes of Graham Crosby, amongst many other riders. So Keogh Watson takes the win over Troy Corsa by 0.034 of a second. Corey Glock in third, Murray Clark in fourth. Roger Gunn gets up to 5th position on board bike the Sunset Racing Machine. Robert Young on 63 in 6th. Steve Harley, who had that technical issue on his Bermuda, in 7th. Damon Davis in 8th, Phil Berg in 9th, and Brad Phelan rounds out the top 10 with Richard Easton, Paul Partlet, Ross Dobson rounding out the field, and Paul Rigney 1 lap down, but he won't care because he got the Z1000R, bike number 131 to the finish. Well, good to see the Superbike Masters got out there for the final race of the weekend, Steve. And what a weekend it's been. A history-making weekend here at Sydney Motorsport Park. Before we go, massive thank you to Destination New South Wales for getting this event off the ground and back here. And hopefully it will now start a run of many, many years of coming back here early on in the championship for a race under lights. That's the second round of the Australian Superbike Championship for 2023. The next round, the 28th to the 30th of April, at Queensland Raceway, just outside of Brisbane. The fourth round of the championship, we go north to the Northern Territory and Darwin's Hidden Valley in conjunction with the Supercars Championship. In July, we go to Morgan Park Raceway in Queensland for round 5, the 14th to the 16th of July. The Phillip Island Grand Prix circuit for the penultimate round on the 27th to the 29th of October. And then the final round of the year, the first weekend in December, the 1st to the 3rd at the Sydney Motorsport Park in South Australia. Down to KP, who's on the podium with our top 3.
In P3, Corey Glock. Corey, how was this weekend? Getting out on those beautiful old vintage bikes.
Oh yeah, it's good fun, you know. It's always good to get back on the bike and ride. As you can see, I go better in the wet than I do in the dry. So yeah, I had a great weekend. Thank you.
Well done.
Thanks very much.
All right, in P2, Troy Corser. You just couldn't catch Keo.
Well,
Yep, looks like we've lost KP down at the podium there. Hopefully it won't be too long. We'll be going to go back down and talk to KP, who was with Troy Corser down there on the podium. The riders getting back there for the Shore Flight Superbike Masters. Let's have a quick look at the Pro MX calendar while we get back down to KP. The next round of the championship, round 3 at Wodonga, the 16th of April. Round 4, we go to Maitland on the 6th to the 7th of May. Round 5 at Gilman in South Australia on the 28th of May. Queensland hosts round 6 and 7 with Toowoomba on the 25th of June and Queensland Moto Park on the 13th of August. And then Coolum, the final round of the championship, round 8 on the 19th and 20th of August. The Australian Off-Road Championships, round 1 and 2 at Mendooran in New South Wales on the 25th and 26th of March. Queensland Moto Park hosts round 3 and 4 the 22nd to the 23rd of April. Round 5 and 6 at Edenhope in Victoria on the 22nd and 23rd of July. Round 7 and 8 at Kyneton in South Australia on the 26th, 27th of August. Rounds 9 and 10 at Kyogle in New South Wales on the 16th and 17th of September. And the final 2 rounds, 11 and 12, at Dungog on the 14th and 15th of October. Well, that's it from Sydney Motorsport Park. We've got to the next round of the championship, only 1 month away at Queensland Raceway. Hopefully we'll see you all there.